Hey everyone, thank you for tuning into this segment with Black Spring with Autumn as we count down to this 2020. Well, let's jump right in. Hey everyone. I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year wherever you are, here in the States or around the world. I'd also like just jump into this by saying that we are about to enter what I'm calling a roaring 20s, and I don't mean those 20s, I mean 2020. And I do believe that the roaring 20s actually begin with us, we the people, and that we have a unique opportunity to make our voices heard and to raise our level of power. We have a defender for we the people. He's defended human rights, and he's also supported our economy, and he's building our economy into a historic boom it's going to be a historic for many, many years to come. So I'd like to just get started in that regard, if you don't mind taking a look with me here. And we do have a story today, if you don't mind taking a look with me at the TNA, which is also known as the New American. Now, this is published by and written by Bob Adelman. I'll just give you a few things here. I just want to give you a couple of things specifically because we do have, of course, by now everyone knows, as patriots, that President Donald Trump has been our champion and that our American Constitution was founded on the basis of natural and human rights. And what I mean by that, these are the rights that are inalienable and they are endowed by our Creator. And, of course, on the left, the government cannot give us rights that we've been blessed with. And President Trump has been our champion for those rights, whether it started with, like today, specifically, I'd like to touch on the economy, as well as our human rights. The human rights specifically I would like to kind of stick with would be, he's been a huge defender for our First Amendment rights, which is our freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment, which is our right to defend ourselves. And also, even on a third tier, I could even say he's been a huge defender of the right to life in terms of abortion, in terms of the dark industries and some of the darkness that we were met with at the very beginning of the year with the reproductive health acts and things that were extended, those rights that were granted, those dark rights that were granted and extended in New York earlier this year. And of course the State House of New York was lit. And of course that also brought us the famous Ralph Northam, Governor Northam, and what his plans were in terms of abortion and the late-term abortions. So I'll go on, but I want to specifically mention that President Donald Trump signed the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracies Act, which is very courageous. He did that in the face of Beijing's warnings and the economic warnings from Hong Kong, from the Beijing, and also, this came with a price for China. They would be met with sanctions and diplomatic actions, as well as, President Trump also signed the Protest Hong Kong Act. So President Trump has done so many things for human rights. He's definitely the Patriots' He's America's Person of the Year, without a doubt. So I'll continue, but just for a brief second, we can just take a look at some other points in which, we had tariffs. Of course, you see the article. It goes on to show tariffs. Here it mentions Larry Kudlow told the Washington Post on Sunday that tariffs will be much more stable for quite a while, thanks to the perception that phase one is a done deal. And with Trump backing off from raising tariffs in exchange for Chinese acquiescence, it's one less thing to worry about for business owners in importing goods from China. Okay? And we can go on to just talk, we can tout even more with the wages. The average American worker's take-home pay is growing at more than 3% a year, a level not seen since the Great Recession. Some of these I'm going to paraphrase because you can go on to the New American, which is a great resource. They've been defending sovereignty and fighting for less government for over 50 years. So I definitely recommend the New American as a great source, great articles. And we can go on. We can look at consumer and business confidence. It looks like it says both have surged since Trump's election in 2016 and remain at high records. In fact, we can go into we can go to minorities and see that we had more Latino small businesses. Not only did President Trump's plans and his policies help Wall Street, but it's helped Main Street. So therefore, you have more blacks or African Americans and Latinos opening businesses. They have more. There's also been more applications for credit, and these businesses have seen significant growth. We can go even all the way down to Selma, Alabama. There was a group. There was like an air conditioning company that was maybe cited at the Blacks for Trump weekend in Atlanta earlier this year. And so many of these businesses are getting off the ground and they have opportunities, not to mention some of the opportunity zones and the urban revitalization bills. There's just been a lot that President Trump has defended and fought hard for the economy and fought hard for we the people. You can find it. You can go a whole spectrum of people. He's reached many sectors, many communities, and he's going to do even more. Now we can continue with, you have the SNAP program here. The number of Americans on SNAP has dropped by an estimated 4 million, reflecting a strong market, a job market, offering better opportunities than staying at home and collecting a few $100s a month under the government welfare program. Okay? So we can just keep going. You have more sections here. I'm just going to skim these just a little bit because this is only a recap, a flashback kind of recap, but it also gives us the vision that where we are and the potential. The job growth in November's 266,000 new jobs reflected an even stronger economy than the forecasters predicted. And it talks about the economic recovery. The recovery from the Great Recession is now the longest in history, well into its 11th year. Of course, back to Wall Street, the major averages, the Dow, the S&P 500, NASDAQ, are up 25% for the year, portending a strong economy for at least the next 6 months. So also, if you look at your 401ks, you can also, I'm sure you can see those breakdowns as well as, whether it's your 401k or whatever, if you invest in ETFs, if you have IRAs or 401ks or whatever you're investing in, you've seen that gradual, that increase up this year. Also, we're looking at the global economy, which has been a big topic. An estimated 90% of the world's economies are flat and in recession. And the good news is that our now measurable signs of recovery on the horizon, they're boding well for an increased demand for the U.S. goods for next year. So, the global economy the U.S. economy is pretty much the envy. It's the envy of the world. No matter how much the globalists resist, they want to be, the global world wants socialism, but they're also wanting to milk the U.S. They want to mock our capitalism, but they're also wanting to milk. They want to benefit from it. That is the most staggering part about this globalism. The involvement that these nations have. They all want to profit from. They want America. They want to use America's wealth to subsidize their economies and their defense, and they're not spending as much money, and their socialism has flattened their economies or staggered their economies. Their secular values and all these things have suppressed their economies. They've seen prosperities in decades before, but because of all these modernity values that they've implemented, they've basically flattened their values, lost their values, and just basically conceded to, to resist truth and reasoning, and instead of subscribing to Enlightenment ideas. So we can keep going here. We can see that the housing markets here, the mortgage interest rates fell to a 3-year low in the third quarter of 2019, driving optimism in the housing market index published by the National Association of Home Builders. And the HMI just clocked its highest reading in 20 years. Okay, and also we have, of course, we heard this. This was a buzz for a while. The recession worries, which a well-known indicator of recession, an inversion of the yield curve. Apparently, this appeared briefly in August, driving the Dow down by 800 points on August 14th, which was the sharpest drop of the year. And since then, the indicator has reversed massively, moving the chances of a recession next year to its lowest level since June. So since the Dow has rebounded nicely, setting a record high along the way. So there you go. So these are this is a citing from the New American. This article was written by Bob Adelman. And here again, we have a president that is really serious about giving the country back to we the people. He's really serious about that. So you can see that not only in numbers, but you can see that in his actions. You can see that he's been a defender of our human rights, and he's going to do so much more going forward. Without the opposition from the left, I mean, can you imagine what would be possible without the opposition from the left, without, the amount of foreign entanglements and the amount of squandered foreign aid, and without the transparency that with less government, our economy would be even stronger. But at this time, of course, we are dealing with globalism, and that force is very strong. And the globalism, their think tank and their engines run on full tank socialism. And I will say this in the words I paraphrase President Trump from his UN agenda speech, that the future belongs to the patriots and not globalists. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I hope that you have a wonderful New Year's Eve, and I will see you the next time right back here. Have a great New Year's Eve. Take care.